Poco Studios in Oklahoma City. You're watching The Press Row. I'm Jenny Carlson here with Barry Trammell, and we are brought to you by Papa John's Pizza. Go online to papajohns.com and check out their internet specials. Help you on those nights you don't want to cook when you're watching baseball or football, Barry. Let's go with We Pick 'em. We've got all college games because we're still keeping an eye on those teams that are undefeated, trying to see if OUOSU can get into that college football playoff. Let's start with the game at West Virginia. Baylor and their just barely undefeated record going to Morgantown, 11 o'clock kick on Saturday. Who you got in this one, Barry?
Well, it's interesting that Baylor's headed to Morgantown coming off the 61-58 victory over TCU. The closest game that we've ever seen to that was 2 years ago when Baylor went to Morgantown and lost to West Virginia 70-63. The two most amazing games in Big 12 recent history, probably. And now the Baylors go to sort of a rejuvenated West Virginia team, and I'm picking the upset. I'm going with the Mountaineers. I think they play a better defense, and they've got a quarterback they like in Clint Trickett. They throw it around pretty good. I think Baylor, while it lit up TCU, it also the offense struggled some against Texas. So I think there's a blueprint out there to how to slow down Baylor. TCU wasn't able to capitalize on it. But let's go with West Virginia in the upset.
I could totally see West Virginia pulling the upset. It's one of those places that I think teams go into. It's far. It's a long trip. The fans there are so passionate. But I'm going with Baylor. I think that maybe that TCU game last week was, the one moment that the Bears have. They may go to Norman and lose. That's entirely possible. But I think they go to West Virginia and get the job done. I think it's going to be close, though. That seems to be the way that things are going in the Big 12 this year, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's a close one, but I think Baylor wins on the road. All right, Barry, what about Ole Miss? They host Tennessee, number 3, Ole Miss. Who would have thought? 6 o'clock on Saturday night. Who wins this one?
Well, Ole Miss is clearly the better team. It's a bad spot for the Rebels, though. 2 straight emotional wins. They beat Alabama in Oxford, then they go to College Station and whack the Aggies. Now they come home to play a Tennessee team that's just sort of The Vols are better, though. We saw them live here in Norman. They're a solid team, not great, solid. I think Ole Miss wins, but I think it'll be close.
Yeah, I'm picking Ole Miss in this one, too. I haven't been on the Ole Miss bandwagon. I haven't been a believer, but you know what? I'm buying in. I'm saying Ole Miss is, I don't know if they're the 3rd best team in the country, but I think they're pretty good, and I think they're better than Tennessee. And at home, people are going to be fired up after that big win at Texas A&M. So you got to like Ole Miss to have a really hyped up environment. In the evening kick, people will be tailgating all day. The Grove will be crazy. I'm going Ole Miss on this one. All right, Barry, the marquee game Saturday night. 2 undefeateds. Notre Dame goes to Florida State, 7 o'clock. Who you got in this one?
I got the Seminoles because it's a cold, cruel, dark world. That's why I've got the Seminoles. I wish Notre Dame could beat them. I think the Irish will play them tough. I don't think Florida State's as good this year as they were a year ago. They've sort of monkeyed around with some mediocre teams, but I think Florida State will be ready for this game. I think Jameis Winston and the Seminoles beat Notre Dame.
Maybe I'm more of the optimist in this group because I'm picking Notre Dame to go to Florida State and pull the upset. I just think that Florida State's shown itself vulnerable on a couple of occasions. Their defense isn't as good as they were a year ago, or at least they haven't played that way. I think Notre Dame's capable. I'm not sure there's a super fantastic team in all of college football this year, so maybe that's why I'm thinking Notre Dame can go in there and win because, frankly, I don't think Florida State is nearly as dominant as they were a year ago. I think Notre Dame gets the job done. And, maybe I'm the glass half full in this room right now. All right, Barry, what about OU? They're hosting K-State, 11 o'clock Saturday morning, early kick time again. Who you got in this one?
Well, I think the Sooner offense has clearly had its moments of despair. A bad half against TCU, a bad half against Texas. However, I think K-State's a little bit unproven. They had the one tough game, that was Auburn, lost, should have won. They dominated several aspects of that game. But OU's a little more battle-tested. They've come through really 4 pretty good opponents in the last 4 games. So I think the Sooners are a little more battle-tested. K-State went on the road to Iowa State, was lucky to get out of Ames with a victory. I'm going to take the Sooners.
Yeah, I'm going OU in this one as well. I think it's going to be a tight fit. I think you're looking at 7-8 points, somewhere around there. But I think for many of the same reasons, K-State just doesn't have the resume. And to go on the road, yeah, they won in Norman a couple years ago, but, for a lot of these guys, that's ancient history. A lot of these guys seem to wake up in a new world every day. So I'm not sure that factors in much. I just think OU is going to have an advantage in athleticism. We saw it a year ago in Manhattan where that ultimately won out. K-State won't beat itself, though. So if OU thinks they're going to, sort of be waiting for a big turnover or something like that, that's probably not going to happen. They're going to have to win this game, but I think they're going to get it done on Saturday. All right, Barry, what about the game down in Fort Worth? Another trip down there for you and for some others. OSU goes to TCU. That's a 3 o'clock kick on Saturday. Who are you taking?
I thought the Cowboys' chances are really soared there on Tuesday for a few minutes when we heard Trevon Boykin was out 4 to 6 weeks. And then we heard that the report was bogus and Trevon Boykin is going to play. So I like TCU. Boykin has played 2 straight years against Oklahoma State. 4 interceptions, 1 touchdown, sub 50% completion. Cowboys have really put a lid on Trevon Boykin, but the truth is he's a different quarterback this year. This TCU offense is remade. It's the spread attack. It's doing all kinds of wondrous things. Lit up Baylor, lit up Oklahoma. I don't know if it'll light up the Cowboys. They've been playing good defense, but I don't know that the OSU offense is going to progress enough to keep OSU in the game.
Yeah, I'm going with TCU in this one as well. I think OSU is going to give them a fight, though, because they're going to get some guys back on defense. They're going to, I suspect anyway, there's a good chance that you see the likes of Ashton Lampkin, Larry Stevens back on that OSU defense. And hey, even though those guys got hurt and you don't ever want injury, they've had a chance to work in some younger guys. So now you've got more depth and experience there with guys like Trey Flowers, Ramon Richards. So that may help because TCU is going to spread it around like they never have before. I wonder if Gary Patterson's saying, why didn't we go to this before? Apparently this is what we should have been doing all along down there with Boykin. But I'm just so concerned about OSU's offensive line. And I'm not saying TCU is super fantastic defensively. We saw him give up 61 against Baylor last week, so I think OSU can score. But that front for OSU is just so concerning. Young guys just not really getting what they need out of that offensive line. I think TCU will get to Dax Garman. I think ultimately that's the difference. Hey, be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.